Hey everyone, and welcome to another installment of Toy Ventures. This week, we're going to talk all about Bulletman, the human bullet from the Hasbro G.I. Joe Super Adventure Team. This guy and me, we go way back, like all the way to kindergarten. So let's give a little bit of backstory and history to the character. Bulletman was introduced in the final year of the G.I. Joe Adventure Team. And the concept that year was creating the Super Adventure Team. So each member of the Joe team had powers now. Joe had Eagle Eye Vision, which was that creepy eye movement he had. Atomic Man was the other member who was the Bionic Man ripoff that had done very well in 1975. And I will do a Toy Ventures about him as well. And they were united in their cause against the evil Intruder. A caveman from outer space. Let's not talk about Intruder. You see, G.I. Joe's sales over the last couple of years have been declining. There was heavy competition from Big Jim, who also would fold in 1976, and the Mego superheroes, probably the biggest concern there, and that is why Bulletman was likely created, was to kind of compete with the superhero concept that was very popular in 1975 and 1976. Bulletman was an original creation, even though there was a comic book character called Bulletman from the 1940s, created by Fawcett Publications, same people that did Captain Marvel, that really does resemble the character. So I'm going to dismiss it as parallel thinking unless I hear otherwise. Bulletman has some unique features. His arms are vac metallized, and they utilize the original G.I. Joe hands, probably because you couldn't chrome up Kung Fu Grip. His head was also used in a ill-fated series called Defender by Hasbro. One of G.I. Joe's biggest problems in the 1970s was everyone was cutting their grass, Mr. Action fighting Yank, Sarge. So Hasbro actually decided to make their own knockoff of G.I. Joe, which actually wasn't a really great idea. So Bulletman does not have the fabulous flocking that other Joes did. He's kind of like Mike Power in that way. That's probably a price point issue as well. He has a beautiful vac metallized helmet, and his, unitard or singlet has hooks on it so that you could actually fly Bulletman through things. It was a nice little attempt, and Mego later did something similar with flyaway action. Hasbro did a big ad campaign for this with television commercials and comic book ads that establish him as a superhero in the G.I. Joe universe. It's really kind of cool, and I gotta tell you, as a 5-year-old at that time, I was in hook, line, and sinker. I already loved the Atomic Man, G.I. Joe, and this was no-brainer for me. A funny story is, when I was a kid, my mom threw out the packaging, and I flipped out, 5-year-old, like, what? And went and picked it out of the garbage. I remember doing this vividly, and I think that says a lot about me. Bulletman was sold worldwide, and there are several iterations of him that I've shown here, but I'll go into better detail. The first up is the basic North American Bulletman. This is actually on the Canadian card, and I bought this Bulletman at my first toy show. I was 16 years old. It was 1987. It was the first thing I ever bought at a toy show, and he has stuck with me ever since. I will not sell him. I've sold my collection before, but Bulletman always remained. He was $12 back then, and I ripped him off the card. I know. It's just one of those things. At the time, the Adventure Team was not very well revered. It was all 60s Joe or nothing. So this was kind of like, garbage to the dealer, who I still see, actually, 30 years later. This is truly one of my favorite toy memories. First toy show, first purchase, never going to get rid of it.
It's the Action Man team on patrol looking for the Intruder, strongman from another world. Action Man spots him with his eagle eyes. Too late. The Intruder's got Tom Stone in a vicious bear hug. Atomic Man lets him have it with an atomic right. The Intruder is stunned, but not for long, and the chase is on. Action Man checks out underwater in the Seawolf, the Action Team submarine that actually dives and surfaces. No luck. He takes to the skies with his turbocopter and spots the Intruder's hideout from above. This is a job for Bulletman, the human bullet. That'll flush him out. And here comes Action Man in the capture copter. Mission accomplished.
Action Man.
In the United Kingdom, G.I. Joe was distributed by a company called Palitoy, and they called the line Action Man because G.I. Joe probably didn't have much resonance there. Palitoy was one of the most innovative toy companies in the world. For G.I. Joe, they created things like Flocking the Heads, Kung Fu Grip, and Eagle Eyes. This was all coming out of Palitoy. They just took things from the United States and changed them, and often for the better. The packaging artwork was often better. I collect Mego, and Palitoy Mego stuff goes for a real premium because it's usually quite gorgeous, and they made a lot of fun changes. And that is the case with Bulletman. They made several changes. I don't know why, but they are kind of fun. First off, they changed the mask to have wider eye holes, I guess so he could see better. They altered his boots to put jets on them. So I guess, they needed to rationalize how he flew. And, of course, Bulletman in the UK doesn't seem to have natural flying ability. But I think the most gorgeous thing for me is they gave him a solid box similar to the ones the Adventure Team had been sold on years prior. And I just absolutely treasure this thing. It's gorgeous. I'm a huge fan of G.I. Joe packaging to begin with, but this one is absolutely my favorite. I lucked out on this. He's pretty rare, so I feel lucky to have him. But in terms of rarity, there's one other variation of Bulletman that's even tougher to find. Meet El Hombre Bala, the Mexican version of Bulletman from a company called Lili Ledy. Lili Ledy was a toy manufacturer in Mexico. Due to importation laws, items had to be licensed and manufactured, so there's lots of fun variants with Lili Ledy. They really put a unique mark on G.I. Joe and the Mego superheroes, just for two examples. I collect both of these things, although I will admit I'm much more of a dabbler in G.I. Joe than anything else. Hombre Bala has several different variations, and I will not pretend that I own all of them or know all of them. Most of them are the boots themselves. Sometimes they're black boots like this. Sometimes they look like the U.S. version. And other times they're kind of like red versions of military boots. I've also heard of a hands variation where it's actually just Kung Fu Grip hands. This figure is near impossible to find in the box. A lot of Mexican toys are hard to find in the box. This is just one of those maladies of trying to collect these toys. I've actually never physically seen a boxed Bulletman before, and luckily my friend Ed had sent me a shot of what it looks like. And, of course, it's gorgeous. Window flap box that I really would like to own. For years on the collector scene, especially in the 80s and early 90s, Bulletman had this bad rap, like he destroyed the G.I. Joe Adventure Team. I always kind of disliked that opinion, and I knew it was just coming from people that were probably too old to play with the Super Adventure Team at the time. It was a lot of it was coming from like the baby boomer collectors who loved the military stuff. Personally, I think he didn't kill G.I. Joe in any way. He just failed to save it. G.I. Joe was crushing under its own weight, I think. It just had become tired. And Hasbro was trying to change it drastically. It didn't take. Since the dawn of the internet, however, I've noticed that reaction to Bulletman has actually changed to a more positive outlook. People fondly remember him and like him, and I'm kind of glad to see that happen because he is one of the happiest childhood memories I had. I played with this guy till he broke. That is one of the other problems with Bulletman, by the way. He has that muscle construction body and is prone to breaking. There are people out there who refurbish Bulletmen, and they're doing good work. What's your take on Bulletman? Did you like him as a kid, or did you think he was silly? I'd welcome the discussion, your memories, and your feedback either here in the comments section on YouTube, our Facebook page, or in our Facebook group, which is called Pod Stallions. It's based off our podcast, but it's an anything goes thing just like the show itself. Thank you again for watching. If you're new to this, please hit like and subscribe, and you'll get a weekly update from me. Thanks for watching. Take care.